Hello.
Dion,
Hey.
how you doing?
So hopefully you can see my screen. Is it sharing? Yeah, I think
Yep,
so.
I got it.
So here is a short example from scratch because it's always a little bit easier from scratch.
Sure.
Um, so if I create a project and before I start drawing walls now, I'll create a new wall type. So I'll create an empty and I'll say this is an element type being a wall type and it's a solid wall. And so let's say this is early concept stage. So we'll just call this a generic 200 millimeter wall, which I'm
Hmm.
sure in Imperial you'll have something similar to that.
Sure.
And we'll need some materials. So we'll take this material here. We'll call it generic because we don't know what it's made out of yet. Have an IFC material. So now we have an IFC material present. And we can use that material to create a layer set. So this will be a layered wall, and we'll keep it simple for now. It'll just have one layer in it called generic, and that layer will be 200 mil.
Okay.
And now that we have that in place, we can use this fancy thing where we can say, all right, we're going to be adding walls from now on.
Okay.
And we can just draw some walls and just kind of free form it pretty much. Whoops.
So this is the part that I didn't get the grease pencil. So that's cool. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So it's grease pencil. So then you can press this, which is hotkey to Shift T, and clearly that's a bug. So we'll ignore that one for a moment.
Hmm.
So I'll delete that wall. That didn't work out very well. I'll try draw another one, and you can use different types. So if you can use the annotate line as well. So there we go. And under architectural, there are a few wall join tools right now. So um, if I let me put that all on the ground floor of the building and make that my default floor, and I can make that an L joint, or I can miter these two joints together, um, butt joint, and then I can do multiple at once. I can take both of those and create the mitered joint there. And alternatively, uh, so that's one method. I'll show you the T junction here. So if I draw um, uh, I'll go back to using a regular sketch. So I'll just draw a wall there, take that and extend it, take that and extend it. So it's very similar to what you know in Revit, actually. It's
Sure.
that the
Sure.
paradigms are very similar.
So what if you want to modify any of those walls now? Like,
Same, they're just boxes.
okay.
Yeah, so you
So
just,
is the sketch line no longer really applied then?
yeah, the sketch line
Okay.
disappears. Yeah, and you
Okay.
can pick anything. You don't need a sketch. So let's say I want to draw without the sketch tool. So I'll just
Sure.
start here, and I'm moving around my cursor. So I'll snap my cursor to here, for example, and it creates a wall. It auto sticks to it. It selects the perpendicular point to it, and then I can just snap it to the end there manually. And same over here. So I can just continuously snap things. But what it does do is that it makes sure that your axis is always consistent. So the local x-axis of the wall is always along the wall like this. So I can always move it along the wall. So if I do gx, x-axis, gy, y-axis, but if I do gx and press x again, you see on the top left it says moving along local x-axis.
Okay. Sure.
And this is important because it determines the exterior versus the interior of the wall, which previously was kind of vague. So now it's very clear where the exterior and interior is, or will be clearer because now it's consistent. So you can see that the positive y-axis, which I'm just highlighting here, is the exterior of the wall.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So now I can do kind of like let's say I'm doing a bulk edit and I just want to shift all of these up. I can take this and just miter those, and I'll take
Nice.
this and clean it up.
Cool.
And I guess it's really nice when you're also bringing in initial sketches as well, which tends to happen a lot. So if I go and import as planes, which is an amazing add-on, which is built in, and we'll just make it shadeless, so there's no lighting being applied to it. And so let's say I knew the scale to this drawing, which I don't, but let's imagine, yeah, roughly about right. Make it a bit bigger. So now with the draw tool, it's quite easy. I can just kind of, just draw, oops, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'll simplify this building a bit. And so what it does is it snaps it to the nearest 5 degrees as well. There we go. And now we have our traced outline.
Cool.
I'll just hide and you just clean up a few things.
Can you join those globally? All those globally?
So you'll notice that while I was drawing, it actually auto-detected things. So I'm currently playing with distance tolerances to work out what's like the best feel for it. So you see all of these, I don't need to clean up because it's just worked it out. It said, hey, this looks like you intended this. It's just done it. So a few bits it didn't quite work out. Whoa. Yeah, that's not cool. Yeah. Yeah, because it depends on an active object. That's right. I didn't select an active object. So the active object is the thing it's joining to. Of course, that's the closer end. So I'll just.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah. So you notice with a butt joint, if I alternate it, you can see how it flips the one depending on which one I picked last.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. So similarly, this one, it's a bit too far down, so I'll just move it up so that it detects the right one. And oops, wrong type of joint. Might turn that one, why not? Click, click, click. Why is that not working? Bugs. Yeah. Anyway, the intention. Hopefully you get the intention.
Awesome. So can
Yeah.
you change the type of thickness and all those walls change now? That's
It
what
will not yet, but that
okay.
will come next. So what
Okay.
happens is that now these are actually smart walls. So as I edit them, what I haven't done it yet, but maybe you'll see it in the next few commits. All these walls will have full quantities in them, for example. And yes, you're right. So that's one type of parametric connection. Another parametric connection would be if I change the type thickness, it changes the wall thickness as well. So
Sure.
you're absolutely right. And I guess what's kind of neat, which isn't so obvious here. Actually, I'm just curious why this one's not working very well. This is the trouble. This is the troublesome one. Anyway, I'll take a look at that. What's pretty neat is that it understands IFC walls, like from most programs already out of the box. So here's like just some random IFC that comes from Revit, and I can do the exact same trick right here. So if I want to make this nook a little bit greater, I can take, well, let's take this. Here's a bit of a tricky one. So I haven't looked at openings yet. So just to prevent the issue, I'm going to make it a dynamic void. So now that it's an actual mesh, and so I'll just take these 3, and hopefully this will work. T-junction. Oh, sorry, not a T-junction. That should be a butt joint. There we go. So this was not at all drawn with Blender, but it just works.
Sure.
I've lost my voids there. So yeah, I need to move on to voids. I think that's because these are very close. So it's a bit hard to for it to do the Boolean subtraction. It's coplanar with it.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, that's I was trying to mess around with it, but yeah, I couldn't get past the grease pencil thing or whatever, but yeah. This is helpful.
Yeah, so I guess oh, one last thing is the unjoin tool. So if I miter these 2 joints like that, and I said like, nah, sorry, this wall I just want to do other things in life, I can unjoin, which I press this button, which will just flatten out the end.
Oh, okay, great. That's good to know. Okay.
Now, what the join wall can, in theory, do in the future is do connected walls, just like in Revit. So, if I move this one, the other walls stretch with it, for example. So that will be a pretty neat thing.
That's in the future roadmap?
Yeah, I think it can work like that, certainly.
Sure.
because the foundation's all in place now. I just need to make all the relationships work.
Sure.
Yeah, and I got to
Oh,
hotkey all this stuff because you don't want to keep on like click, 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 click. Nah, it has to be very smooth.
sure. Awesome. Next is like layered walls, right?
Yeah, yeah, correct, correct. Because I mean, this one already, the thickness is derived from the wall type. So I go to wall type here, like, and if I click there and I add this wall, um, well, this wall is floating in space, which is not very good. But if I was on the right building structure, I think it actually also detects that. So if I was on level 1, add this wall, you can see how it's snapped to the ground intelligently
Okay,
as
sure.
well. So and also the thickness. So the height of the Z of the wall is derived from the story. The thickness of the wall is derived from the wall type. So if I pick this one here, you can see it's thinner. So yeah, it will
If
all kind of start being more
s-
and more connected and intelligent.
so, if you move your empty on your story, it'll actually move those walls too now.
Empty on my story?
Yeah, like the IFC story, you have an empty for that. If you move that empty, will your walls move with it?
No, no, not at the
Oh,
moment.
oh, okay,
No.
okay, gotcha.
Basically, you look at. So I don't know how much you look at this on the top left, but this is pretty important because it says your active collection. That's where objects appear. That's what you're authoring on.
Okay, sure,
So yeah, if it detects that you're on the story, same thing. So now let's say I want to take a look at some. This is IC2X3, so we'll take a look at some furnishings, and we'll say when I insert a chair there, and you can see that the chair is actually intelligently on the ground, like it's stuck to the floor.
sure.
Or say, like even though my cursor is up in the air, it understands. So we'll put in a wardrobe. Oh yeah, wardrobe.
Hmm,
Yeah,
nice.
and so on.
So in the future, are you gonna connect like say like the base of a wall to that IFC story empty, like through a driver, or or
Um,
are you not
yeah,
planning to connect that?
I don't know yet. I don't know
Okay,
yet. You notice even the top of the wall is like I can in theory I can do it. In theory I can follow the I can do exactly what you've described. I can also make the top follow the top, like the next story up,
right,
which
yeah.
actually there isn't a next story up in this building, so I wouldn't know how to do that.
But I've been
Yeah,
kind of doing that just, from scratch, and some of my models is just connecting the base and the top to this empties, It's
yeah,
obviously it helps in during design because the your base levels change a lot, so
correct. They do. They
yeah,
do certainly. Less so in big apartment blocks. You kind of lock your floor to floors. but
right.
um, but um, but yes, definitely, I completely understand.
Yeah.
But yeah, the fundamentals are there, so I can
Yep,
do
for
those
sure.
smart intelligent things now.
Are you
And
thinking though like that the base that is going to be, Blender drivers that do that, or not necessarily? Is that going to be more just kind of an IFC shell, open shell type of dynamic? You know what I'm saying?
yeah, I don't think it will be a driver simply because I don't think
Okay.
Blender will be able to scale up to thousands of objects.
Okay. So it'll be
Uh,
more kind of like your IFC representation, right? For those like extrusions and whatnot. It'll be
it might, yeah, and it
dynamic
might,
that way.
yeah, correct, and it might also it might be a mix. So it might do some things in Blender, some things not. Like for example, many of these wall geometry calculations are done in Blender, right? Because it's just easier.
Hmm,
And this one works like the wall join because you're doing it one at a time. So there's no scaling issue there. So I can do it in Blender.
sure.
With a driver, however, I need to think. It's a bit
Okay.
tricky. Don't know.
Right. Okay. Sure. Sure.
Yeah. Tricky
Whatever.
stuff.
Always no shortage of stuff to think about.
Yeah. I'll give you a quick demo of the drawing tool though, because I think that's something you want to play with.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, sure. Let's do this file. Why not? We'll push the boundaries. I always do a fresh file, but so if I export this to test, which great. So now we have it
Yeah.
a test.
So
Um,
so sorry by the way on that. the project we're working together with on York with there. We
Oh
totally
no,
botched the IFC, and because we were like cut and paste and bring in content from one project to the other. It's
I
just like
totally understand.
after a while it was just like it's gone. The IFC is no longer salvageable.
I understand. I totally understand.
Yeah,
And it's just something I'm working over time to make it more robust, to track the changes and just make it so
sure,
you can work fluidly and it just kind of works in the background.
sure.
And let's
Whatever.
face it, you
It's
can't draw walls right now. It's hard to draw walls. It's- so
Yep. No, the foundation's there though. I can see it. It's exciting that, it's everything's kind of now you're kind of doing the bells and whistles now.
I'm going
So,
back to the basics, drawing walls
well,
next to
well,
these
no, well,
slabs.
the basic was like, getting the IFC infrastructure in there, right? Like
Yeah, that's true.
the refactoring. I think that was a good, approach, and now you're kind of adding on top of it. So,
Correct. Now I'm starting to be able to benefit from it, finally.
yep, yep, it's cool.
Yeah, so drawings are pretty easy. Basically, you just press the add drawing button. And similar to before, um, you just put it wherever you want it to be. Now, what you do need to do, however, is you need to save it. So I just saved it, done. Now, I think half of these options, like I think all this raster stuff no longer applies because it still needs to be jiggered and poked around. But I think, and also one of the biggest limitations is that right now you can only have one drawing in a file. If you notice, I posted that to Thomas saying that we still have no way of identifying different
Oh,
drawing
okay,
objects.
okay, sure, no,
So that's the biggest deal breaker,
okay,
uh, a huge deal breaker actually.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, if you press the create drawing button, it'll think a bit, and it should just spit out that.
Nice. So we got vector-based like lines on the projection too.
Correct. So that's all
Oh,
vector based. It's all
awesome.
yeah, which is I guess what we need. Now I'm
That's
noticing
huge.
that these walls didn't come through. So where is it here? Yeah, I wonder if I just toggle these things and just export one more time and then try see if that fixes it. Yeah, I don't know. I have to take a look at that. See what's wrong with that. Um, yeah, but yeah, the chair came through. The you'll notice the door. I've disabled the doors by default because I'm still playing around with it. But the idea is now to have much more robust workings of annotation. So let's say this chair, for example, you are going to draw out a symbol so that it doesn't need to. And ideally, that's what you should do for all fancy furniture. Symbol it. Walls, I mean, doors and windows. Symbol it. That's.
Why? Just because it's memory intensive to process all the facets, or what?
Yeah. So one is
Yeah.
memory, but the bigger issue is that it just it gives you control, right? It tells you where the door swings are, and as a simplified relationship. Um,
Sure. Well, I can see for like, door swings and, window elevations, the, window swing, but um
yeah, you
sometimes
can see it does a
yeah,
pretty good job without it, but
yeah.
yeah, if you did go to it, basically you'd need to first add a new plan view. So this one's important because it affects which view you're editing. So you add a plan view. So Revit I think comes with this, which is wrong, but which I think they fixed in a later version. And yeah, so now I guess I'll just clean this up. So I'll just do a limited dissolve and remove by that, and I'll update the representation to clean up the mesh first. And the reason I do that is because often it becomes a bit, the mesh is a bit messy. And that's important when I'm creating a new plan one, because when I create a new plan view, if I switch to it, you can see it projects down. So it's automatically generated that plan
Mm.
of the thing. And now I'll go and do this cleanup procedure. I'd say I want that one, but not all the ones in between. It doesn't make any sense.
And
Uh,
this is strictly to kind of save memory to do this. Because a lot of times, like with Revit families, I actually delete all the detail lines. I like to see basically the 3D model in any view. And so I don't
yeah,
necessarily
I guess
like doing this because it adds another layer that I don't think is necessary unless you're saving memory, I guess.
Yeah, right now I think the big like for non-doors and windows, it would be a memory thing. Correct.
Okay.
But we'll see. We'll test it and see what happens. So just for fun, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that guy and well, let's select all of it and move him just high up so we can see the change that I've made. So I think that the way it works is still a bit in progress. So it actually has to cut through the object. So the 2D representation only shows if you're cutting through it at the moment, which I'm not cutting through this chair. So I think I'll need to set some rules. So for example, doors, if it's below you, you don't want to see their 2D representation. You only want to see the 2D representation if you're cutting through the door, right? That's how it kind of works. So that's the blanket rule right now, but that doesn't actually work very well for things like furniture, right? Furniture, you always want to see the 2D, regardless of cutting through. So I'll need to kind of work out what the logic is on that. But just for now, I'll move it way down near the ground. And you also notice that the ceiling is actually being projected. So that's another issue because this ceiling object here, not this one, but where's this ceiling object? So this ceiling object is actually modeled like this. So it's cut through this and it's thinking, oh, I need to go and project that, which is kind of lame. So I guess I can.
I saw that
Yeah,
on the GitHub issue on that one.
yeah. So that needs a bit of cleaning up as well.
Actually,
So again,
speaking of though, bring up a question. Is there any workflows for reflected ceiling plans yet, or nah?
getting there.
Okay,
So
okay.
what's happening is you'll notice that I told you that the plan view was significant. Like the representation context is significant. So you'd basically choose a RCP when you're creating a representation for it. And of this drawing, you can also set that this is a reflected plan view, and it would detect those types of symbols.
So that's strictly though based on the 2D representations, not a model representation.
Correct.
Okay. Well, how about model representation? Like actually just, you know, if there was no 2D representation, you want to reflect the ceiling plan. Is that not possible yet?
It doesn't actually do the flipping you're looking for, right? You need
Okay,
that
okay,
that
right.
mirrored thing. I think that's what you're
Yes.
asking, right?
That's
Yeah,
what I'm
it
asking.
doesn't
Yep.
do that. Correct. Yeah,
Okay.
but I don't think that's hard.
Okay.
Because I think it's just a mirror
Yeah, yeah,
transformation.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
so whatever's to come then. Okay.
yeah, it'll come. Yeah. So there you go. Bit of work in progress.
Yeah.
Let's see what happened to. Oh well, there you go. Clearly unstable. Broke some stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah. Anyway,
Well,
I'll
cool.
keep hacking on it, make it more stable, and hopefully you won't run into those issues that I'm running into.
Yeah, no, it's part of the fun. All right, cool. Well, yeah, I'll definitely play around with that wall tool some more and appreciate the tutorial.
Okay, have a good one.
Cool. All right, talk to you later, Dion.
See you then. Bye.
Yep, bye.